Hey everyone, Charles here. And first of all, thank you for stopping by my podcast. If this show inspires you, makes you think, or gives you that courage to jump into action, please help by donating to this show. Click the link in the description and donate. Your donation helps us with production and finding great guests moving forward. Thank you and enjoy.
You know you should be doing something different, right? Hey, I'm talking to you. Do you believe that you have the gift for greatness or have a special talent, but don't have the courage to take that next step? Always wondering how others made it look so easy? Well, welcome to Jump, the show that will bring you special guests just like you and me. How did they get the courage to jump into greatness? Doing what they love and living the good life. So, get ready to jump with your host, Charles Matthews Jr.
Yes. And welcome to the show. If it's just your first time here at the Jump, it's not about jumping up and down. It's about jumping into greatness. Get a step into it. Sometimes we're holding back. We're scared. We're at the line and we don't know. Should we jump? That's what the show is all about. I find interesting guests who've made it, who've done strange things, who've had different careers and changed things around. And this next guest, trust me, I just want to get to the nitty gritty. I want to get to the story. Welcome to the show, Vinnie.
Yo, what's going on? How are you, man? Thanks for having me.
All right. Please introduce yourself, but don't tell everybody what you've done, where you've gone. Just introduce yourself as just you.
All right. I'm a mama's boy, originally from Staten Island, oldest of 6 children. And as a sibling leader, I learned to put my kids, my brothers and sisters first, and I've been sort of a people pleaser and been making other people's dreams come true like my entire life. And in my 20s, I figured out how to turn those people pleasing skills and coping mechanisms into superpowers that I think changed modern storytelling as we know it. And now I'm doing the same exact thing I did 25 years ago. With many, by the way, of the people that you probably know of, including our neighbors, now that we all have iPhones. So I'm excited to get to share with you how to get discovered, how to be more discoverable, how to take that jump. I can't wait to share with you my jump, my 19-year-old jump that happened that literally changed my life forever. And I love the introduction of your podcast. It makes me think most of us frequently try to jump out from something. Most of us actually feel like we need firm ground, like we're jumping from instead of jumping into something. And I found that by focusing on what I'm jumping into, it allows me to take far greater leaps than the precautionary jumps if I focus on what I'm jumping out of.
That's fantastic.
Makes sense that I'm soaking up already.
All right. So I'm going to backtrack a little bit. You were the oldest of 6.
Yeah.
But that's a lot of pressure because mom and dad always says, oh, take care of your brothers and sisters. You're the oldest. Take them to school. Do that. Did you feel pressure on that growing up that you had to live up to things? Talk about that part.
I felt, I think I felt lucky that I was the first and I can kind of make my own path up, and my parents had nothing to compare it to. And my parents were the oldest of their siblings also. So I'm the oldest in like my big Italian cousin. Everyone in my family's got a cousin Vinnie. I can relate to that. I think so something happened when I was like in 5th grade. My parents separated. And I remember there was a conversation I had with an aunt who referred to me sort of like as the man of the house. And I remember being like, no, I'm still like Vinnie. I'm still the boy in the house. I'm still like the oldest son. Like my title doesn't change just because my dad's no longer living here. No, now we're just like a single parent house. I'm not going to try to be the father,
Right.
And I think some of that was good therapy at that stage of my life. Not to jump over it, but my parents divorced as a result of narcotics. So I was in Al-Anon and Alateen, and I had adults sharing with me that, the information that I was given might not be, the difference between fact and truth. Let's just say I learned that at a really, really, really young age.
Right.
And that adults, while they tend to mean well, sometimes make mistakes. And then sometimes people are hard to read. And I took all of those challenges that I was having, and my coping mechanisms became I became an empath. because I became really in tune with energy in a room without someone needing to say it. And I feel like that superpower helped me tremendously when I got to MTV and all of reality TV came to fruition. And I realized not only, and I still haven't even gotten to what I did in my 19-year-old version that made me have the single most amount of clarity I've ever had in my entire life. I sometimes wish that I can take the same level leap that I took when I was 19. But the facts that I know hold me down sometimes. I say this, I know too much. Especially in this new era of media, I know too much.
Right.
There's too many rules that don't apply to us yet. And there's ways that we can really maximize and connect with people that you couldn't do in TV. I think that's why I'm such a geek and so enthusiastic about podcasting, because business owners can own it. Like all the celebrities that you know on TV, they don't own their shows. The networks do. We can own our shows. And trust me, it is moments, not a matter of time, but it is moments until you start seeing your favorite podcasts on broadcast networks. It's moments until television can give us Bravo and Bravo adjacent channels through broadcast that are maybe luxury, maybe lifestyle luxury, car luxury, vacation luxury, info luxury. You know, there might be these buckets that are adjacent to what Bravo does that I honestly think that podcasting is gonna, if radio killed the video star, I think that podcasting is gonna put TV back on the map. It's gonna keep those big boxes in our living room relevant. You know?
Well, you're throwing little nuggets out, and my listeners are like, wait a minute, did he just say TV? Did he say actors? Did he say, all right, so let's drop it. Tell everybody what you've been doing.
Oh gosh, how anticlimactic. I was lucky. I was lucky in the 90s to be at MTV at a point in time, at first at Fox News, and then at MTV News, and then eventually MTV, the network, and at a point in time where they were looking to develop talent, where they inherently said there's a lot of talent that are coming through this Times Square studio, albeit celebrities or new faces, DJs, like a tremendous amount of talent was coming through there. And while managers and labels already had relationships with the network, there was no one who was tasked with figuring out new ways to work with talent. And I was lucky to have this skill set of technology. I'm a database engineer who became good at meeting people because I had to. Right. So there's like my coping mechanisms and my childhood all coming into play. I literally became a casting director, not because of who I know. Most people think you need to know a lot of people.
Right.
It's actually the opposite for me. It was like, I have nobody, but I'm really good at meeting people because I speak their language. I understand what they're looking for. And I'm very, this is a middleman, which is me being the oldest of six. As a middleman, I'm a people pleaser. I want everyone to get something out of it. I want my sister to eat her spinach because that's what my mom wants. I want everyone to enjoy doing it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but you've worked with the biggest of the bigs, shows.
They had to come through. They had to go through TV back in the day to be seen. That was the trick. Right? Reality changes when the world sees it. So the Osbournes and Newlyweds.
Yes.
Wild 'N Out, TRL, Direct Effects. I mean, MTV2, MTV3, and then I think about 50 international MTV affiliate networks while I was there. And I got to write the SOPs, the standard operating procedures for all of those international development partners, how to take a global product like MTV and localize it, because pop culture is so different, right? And pop culture is really the product, not, MTV is the platform. And I love that about, and also I was at MTV when youth culture cared,
Yes, exactly.
I gotta point that out. It wasn't just like
we wanted the information. We wanted to, gravitate. We were so tuned into it. But now my listeners are really intrigued, and I'm so intrigued to say, how'd you get this jump? The 19-year-old. I don't know how. Listen, you worked with the biggest of the biggest. Like, you know what I mean? Like.
They ended up being big now, which is nice, but when I got to MTV, I didn't start working with the greatest, biggest names and all. No, Beyonce was when I first met her, one of 5, then one of 3, then one of 4, then one of 3 band members.
Right.
Group, you know what I mean? Jennifer Lopez was just starting her career the year. There was a lot of newness, and I kind of stuck with those new artists, and I rode along over the last 25 years. Not to say like in the wake, I would say, of their success. They're giant stars. This is what's in our universe. This is what stars do. They create energy and opportunities, and I was attracted to that. I was always attracted to being surrounded by talent. I thought I was going to be a Broadway producer. I went to Wagner College. I thought I have a business degree in theater arts, and I thought I would like run a production company and be like a Broadway producer. So the thought of MTV was funny to me because it was 15 Broadway, and that's about as close as I ever got to my Broadway dream. Yeah, but it counts. It counts.
Yeah, hey, you're there.
It counts. You know, there's a couple of points in time, and I remember working at MTV in the 90s where working on Broadway felt cooler to me than working in cable. So depending on, but the power of television. I mean,
yes,
I was there maybe 3 or 4 years, and my first week, I think I started with Mandy Moore as a 15-year-old who had just gotten hired by MTV to be a brand new VJ, and it was my job to help her get comfortable and to answer to get her questions answered. Not even to answer her questions, but I never thought of that. It wasn't my job to answer her questions. It was my job to get her questions answered. And the best part about working with 15-year-old Mandy Moore, and even now, 35-year-old, well, plus, with all due respect, Mandy Moore, she asks questions. It's something she's taught me, actually, is to ask questions. It provides an opportunity for someone to have a permanent impact, to be part of the alchemy of your creative process forever. And by asking someone advice, input, direction, who has experience, who is someplace where you want to be. I thought that was like taboo, and she created that space to just innocently learn, and those relationships like that I saw come from that set there at Times Square I don't take it lightly. In fact, I'm doing now in podcasting what I think I did back at TRL. With TRL, for those who don't know, there was like a show from 3:30 to 4:30, which was like the only live hour on television for like 18 to, or I should say 12 to 24-year-olds, let's say. So the only live hour of programming we had globally, and stars would pass by. Energy would come through that building. That was tremendous.
Yes.
And I leveraged my access. To the studio. So I was there in the room because I know you have to be in the room to be part of the decisions. And it was will.i.am at the end of one of his interviews with one of our VJs, who turned to his manager and said, well, how come I only get like 3-minute video in this countdown? If I was hosting it, I'd be on the whole 30-minute show. He goes, why can't I host a show? And then his manager turns to me and says, well, can we do that? And I was like, what? That sounds that's like the best idea ever. Yeah, let me make some quick phone calls and get it, and I'll tell the proper people, the head of my department and the head of our production unit, that this opportunity exists, and I can't see why on MTV2 we wouldn't jump on it. And to be honest, I think of that moment because to me, that's when I went hyper on getting artists to be hosts on our programming. I got, Christina, as a network, got Christina Milian to host Becoming. I got Danielle Fishel. We got Danielle Fishel from Boy Meets World to host Say What Karaoke, which was a big show back in the day. We got to work with like Gwen Stefani, who hosted Fashionably Loud. And I got to work with these artists in a really unique way that complemented what they did. So I didn't touch their music, and I didn't have anything to do with the core product.
Right.
But being at MTV, it allowed me to give artists that opportunity to expand. And one sort of project that's flourishing right now in my mind is we put Beyonce in her first film. We put Beyonce in Carmen. She played Carmen in Carmen, the hip opera on MTV. And I was lucky to be the casting associate. And I was based in New York. And I get the email, Robert Townsend is coming to New York. By the way, for those who don't know, Robert Townsend is like the genius behind like Eddie Murphy Raw. And he's just like a brilliant comedy director. And I was, as I mentioned earlier, I was kind of already used to Beyonce being in the studios, and she's an awesome artist. So you're never not starstruck and awestruck in her presence because she's just so intentional with all of her moves and her focus. But it was Robert that I was out to impress. And she comes in and she reads her lines and it was good. And I kind of like took a step back. I realized this was like my moment. I can be a director. I try to get the panning, you know, I try to get them in the frame. And Robert says to me afterwards, they finish the scene. He goes, all right, thank you, Beyonce. He goes, Vinny. And my heart like drops. I'm like, oh my gosh, don't give me a note in the middle of Beyonce's audition. Like, this is an audition. This is a sensitive time where we're reading into all of these energies. I remember just being shook. And he was like, look, I know she can act. I don't need you to get the framing. I just want to see her eyes. All I care about is her eyes. 6 inches from her face. And he takes my hand, 6 inches from her face. I want to only see her eyes.
That's it.
And we went, that was it. And I was like, okay, that I could do. She did it. It was actually the scene when she walks in. If you remember the movie, she walks in and it's sort of silent. She sees Mekhi Phifer and she crosses the room. And that was it. One take, done. They leave. I tried to get a copy of the tape. He was like, no, I got it. He took the tape. And it was maybe 20 years later, maybe about 5 years ago, that I realized that, because it really almost bothered me for a long time, that I was like, oh, Beyonce, like you never want to disturb creative energy. You know what I mean? Like, that's what I felt like I did. I felt like I disturbed creative energy, because what went over my head and being in the room with these two giant creative forces was a lesson that didn't sink in until 5 years ago. He wasn't giving me those notes. He was giving them to Beyonce. He wanted Beyonce to know what he was looking for in the tape. He let her know what the vision was, without needing to say, okay, here's what I want you to do. Here's what you need to do, without micromanaging or saying any type of negative, positive, however you want to say it, criticism, you know? And that clarity, right? Like that 1%er creative clarity that operates on that level of a shared vision to get the output, to be open to new outcomes, as opposed to how so many of us try to share our vision myopically. We think we know how it needs to be, so we almost ask for every single piece to be done impeccably the way we think it should. It was just a brilliant way to see two creatives work. And I think of, in the creator economy, how brands are talking to creators, podcasters, influencers about ways to work together. Just reminds me of how we can be, you know, sharing our vision instead of giving directions that, you know, might be limiting the creativity.
So let me ask you this then.
Yeah.
When was your jump moment then? Because I can hear, you know, your creative thing. I can see everything there. But when was your jump moment? Because I can, you know, once I put this show on and everybody clicks the link and sees all the top artists you've worked with and everything, I want to know, you're my superstar right now. Where was your jump moment?
Oh, yeah. All right. I appreciate that. My jump moment was in college. It was October 1998. It was someone who told me that I had the power to change my story, that the version of my story wasn't an accurate version of my story, and that it was many versions of what I had heard and what I thought were facts, and I had become, you know, a character in and of itself of a bad version of my story. Actually, I remember being like, why? I'm the one in control, and I'm making myself be that character. I got to change my character, and I did overnight. I changed my character. I came out to my family. I was super in my truth. I've never been more present in my entire life. That weekend was like exhilarating, the weight that was lifted. And then I wanted to replace that weight that was now lifted with a goal of being a casting director. And the advice I got from the person who told me to change my story was to just think in the future, just be a casting director. If you want to be a casting director, just be a casting director. And I kind of like, I couldn't, I was so mad. I went back. I was in school. I went back to my dorm room. I remember being like, they told me to look into the future to get past where I was. But then when I want to live into the future, they're telling me to make it up. That feels to me like a lie. That feels like I'm setting myself up to be a fake version of myself, or a version of myself that I'm controlling. And I know that I don't have control over the reality of, and the perception, more importantly, of the reality of who I am. So I did something that night. I went to Backstage, which is a magazine for people who aren't represented by actors in a non-union casting opportunity. And I took out an ad, and the ad said, I'm looking for a casting director looking for emerging talent for future projects. Send me your headshots. 1 Campus Road, Wagner College, Student Box 577. I didn't even think to like pretend to have like a business account, you know,
No,
a PO
no.
box. No, it didn't even
Why
make
not?
sense.
Just go
Yeah.
straight for it.
Just here I am, a casting director in college. You know, like I'm already lying enough. Like I'm not gonna. And I got, I mean, between maybe 500 to 700 submissions in about
Wow.
2 weeks. And I remember looking at the 8x10 envelopes in these big USPS buckets and seeing $3, $4 that it cost for everyone to send to me. And I remember thinking, doing the math, that I like stimulated the creator economy, and then just by getting mail sent to me. I freaked out and I turned to databases. I said, I'm going to create a database. I'm going to take all this information and put it in here. And then when I see an opportunity on Backstage that I think is right for them, I'm just going to let them know, so that they don't have to maybe just keep looking at Backstage, because then you had to buy it and you had to be in close proximity to New York.
Right.
And only certain newsstands had it. So I kind of like started a newsletter and I learned about macros, which was a way to automate Microsoft Excel to do things for you. And those things became talent one sheets for MTV Spring Break. Those things became show Bibles, reality TV show Bibles, and pitch letters and casting documents. And all of that experience from launching a single ad and putting out an opportunity into the world and saying, here I am, come find me, I'm looking for you. I also caught wind at that move, and database also caught wind of producers over at Fox News, which was a relatively new cable network.
Right.
They had a show called Hannity and Combs, which was a show that talked about politics on both sides of the aisle. Okay. And I was hired to organize the audience, because I had like thousands of audience members, and we would tour the country, organize the audience and my database, and then pick people to ask questions. And then that opportunity led to MTV News hiring me for Choose or Lose 2000. And we got to cast Gideon Yago and a bunch of newscasters who soon became prominent news figures, actually, at MTV. But it was that moment. It was that one weekend where I took action. I didn't realize that's what I wish the person would have told me, is like, you have to put your mindset to the future and then take action. That way, like that was a lesson I wish someone would have just closed the loop, you know, on me. I learned that the hard way, but that's been my secret ever since. I make decisions now based on how it will impact the future. I'm helping people now create podcasts, create content that's going to make impact, that I know is going to have gigantic impact in our economy, in our society, in our community. And are not just going to know events, but make the kind of content that I've already made on television, which keeps people on their couch.
So you're not only jumping, you're jumping and looking to the future as you jump.
Oh yeah. It's absolutely. Yeah. I look into the future when I jump, for sure. Well, that's where I'm jumping to. I think I have a target. I'm very rarely focused on where I'm leaving. I know I'm going to be back. I believe in cycles. I believe I have an annualized cycle of content. I have a monthly cycle of content, so that I can do the same thing every year. By the way, that mentality of growth for me on an annualized basis helped me figure out, you know, how many Emmys can I win? Well, they only have the ceremony once a year, so do the math. And that helps me. It really does, but it helps me figure out what I should and shouldn't be working on, even depending on how I want to leverage that Emmy. By the way, I bring it up. I realized 25 years in being in TV, I realized I don't have an Emmy because I never applied for one. I was never nominated for one because I never worked on a level. I never worked at the level as an active producer on a series that was nominated or won. So I didn't qualify for that award. When I figured that out, I put my plan into action, and I wanted to be an award-winning producer for two reasons. One, because you win in a team, and I love the team that we went into. That Emmy Award changes my entire the initial impression of my entire 25 years in media. Suddenly, to be, I think, out of the gate, it's one of the things that helps differentiate me from everyone else in television, who's specifically focusing in the independent side of media right now. And that's how I'm trying to leverage it.
So here's the question for you. I always tell everybody on the show that, you know, stars become stars, but they learn from their mistakes. Give me one example that you had a mistake or it didn't go your way that you learned from.
Oh, well, it didn't go my way?
Yeah.
I was all about to talk about Nick Cannon. Um, I'll finish that thought real quick. Nick taught me something real quick. He pitched Violin a bunch of times to MTV on paper, and they said no. And then he put more paper to it and more images, and they said no. And it was over Christmas break. He was dating Christina Milian. It was over Christmas break. He rented a comedy club that wasn't work, that didn't have a show.
Right.
And then Christina did the 2-team celebrity thing, and then came back to MTV with the tape. The lesson I learned there was the power of investing in yourself. People don't know what you see if they can't see it, and you can't give them a version of what you want and expect them to see through that version. In fact, that version is often limiting. So I bring that flashback up because there's so many times where I said to somebody, "Oh my gosh, this is a great show. It's X meets Y," and the person I'm pitching it to doesn't like X or doesn't like Y, and that ends the conversation right there without me being able to show exactly what makes this unique. I wasn't able to get that across. I wasn't able to get that over across and into the green light zone. And I thought I could share enough of a vision. I thought I could create enough momentum to get you to where I am in seeing it, but that's not true. People have to be shareable. It's tangible. Creativity is shareable. It's tangible creativity. Your creativity is this idea that's coming from you out and shared into the universe, whether it's with somebody who is collaborating with you or the audience member.
So what I'm taking from that is sometimes people can't see your vision. So you have to go do your vision first for people to come back and see your vision. You can explain as much as you want, put it on paper, like you said, and say, it's going to be a great idea, but they just can't see what you see. Yeah. You know, it's a nugget, but they can't see the dirt around it. They can't polish it up. So you have to go do the first polish, take a chance on yourself and do it.
Yeah. And it's not that they can't, but also you don't want them to. That's the problem, right? That's really what ends up happening. Is like, oh man, that's not what I thought was going to happen. But that's, because we weren't clear. We didn't have a level of clarity in descriptions or maybe, goals. But I think of that like Robert and Beyonce moment, that shared vision.
Right.
Oh, this is a shared vision. He made it very clear what he wanted was eye contact. Very impeccable. Couldn't be clearer, about that. And I think that's really powerful, that level of clarity. Also, I think you used to be able to fake it, before you make it. Now I'd like to say make it before you take it to the next level. Before you take it and jump with it, you need to make it so that when you get to the desired place, the destination, the location, the platform, wherever it is that this audience is, that it's built the way you intended it to be. And that you don't have to, I don't want to say, you don't have to, you have a lot more control over when and how you get discovered, where you get this, why you get discovered. And by being conscious of the audience you want to be discovered by being conscious of how you want this content to play out, maybe that will help you pick the platform to stand out on, a way to put it out. That might be something to think of.
So let me ask you this. Let me ask you, in your opinion, do you think this generation takes more chances now, or are we more hesitant?
What's this? Which generation is this one? Like just us as humanity right now? Are we taking more?
I'm talking about everybody, because when I interview people, I'm talking about old, young. They've been there. It seems like a lot of them are set in their ways and scared to jump.
Yeah, so there's probably I think we're taking risks. I really don't know the answer to that, to be honest. I speculate and would say that there are probably a lot more risks being taken that aren't being digitized, that we don't have the data on, than we do have the data on, if that makes sense. So people, there used to be at MTV, there was a time and place where we took a risk. It was calculated. At the beginning part of MTV Spring Break, it was kind of always the lull. And we had so much original programming that if something didn't work, we can take it off the air and air something else 40, 50 times, and no one would even remember that show didn't air. So there was this strategy in a short period of time to flood the waves with a lot of new programming to see what sticks quickly. And then also, if we had some fails, they would quickly be overshadowed by the wins because we can pull it off air. That was when on-demand programming wasn't around. That was when. Now, if you were like, wait, hold up, what did that episode? Jerry Springer break. What happened? You can't find that anywhere, on the internet.
Right.
And I think that's part of what made TV so scintillating back then. But what's changed is responsibility of those platforms. There's a lot of network responsibility on all levels, not just in publishing, but in protocols and hiring. On every level of imagination at networks now versus just 20 years ago when I was at the network. And to be honest, MTV was seen as the wild, wild west of cable networks, and it felt that way until Bravo came in with their housewives. And I was like,
whew.
No.
All right. All right, my friend. Let's have some fun with you. Here we go. It's now time for rapid fire. We've been talking to you in a while, and I really want to get to know you a little bit more. So this segment is called rapid fire. There's going to be 2 minutes on the clock. Funny thing is, you get to ask your own questions. So do you want A, B, C, or D? Now you can elaborate, but don't forget, you got 2 minutes on the clock, and you got to get through all these questions within 2 minutes. Which questions do you want? A, B, C, or D?
B, boy.
B. All right. 2 minutes starts on the clock when I start this button. Here we go.
Wish me luck.
What advice would you give someone young getting into your business?
Create a secret account for yourself that you show nobody, and put all of your best, funniest stuff. Create it for yourself first.
What scares you?
The dark. So I'm like a 45-year-old who's still afraid of the dark. It's so embarrassing.
Cats or dogs?
Dogs.
If you could live anywhere in the world, where would you live and why?
Oh, Brooklyn. I'm here. I'm never leaving. I love being in New York because so much comes through. And I love traveling, and I got to do that in the 20s thanks to MTV. But now, as an adult, I love being here, and I'm old, and my GI and all that stuff. So if you're in New York, you're swinging by, say hi. But we got an ETF.
There you go. What would you change about yourself?
My laugh. I changed my laugh. Is that okay?
There's nothing wrong with your laugh. I think it's cool.
There's nothing wrong with anything. But if I got to change something, my laugh is a cackle. It's like I feel like when I'm at like a show, like that, I'm like, if I laugh, the actors will know, oh, Vinny's laughing. That's Vinny's laughing.
Okay. So what do you do not like doing?
What do I not like? Running? I don't know. That's a horrible kind of answer, but.
All right. What do you like doing then?
Imagine if I just said sitting. Creating. To be honest, creating is when I'm time flies when I'm creating. When I'm committed to publishing something and creating something, and I'm in that funnel, it feels like time flies, and that's like the flow that I strive for all day long.
What's your favorite hobby?
Droning.
And where do you love the most?
Where do I love the most? I have an awesome boyfriend, and we travel quite a bit. And I think anywhere we go together, to be honest, is anywhere where he is. Anywhere we can go together, I think is sort of my favorite. That being said, there's a quiet place up in New Hampshire called Lake Winnipesaukee. It's a glacial lake. It's quiet. It's nice. It's creative. I like it up there.
And I'll give you 30 seconds more on this one. Who would you shout out right now? If you had to shout out one person in the world, you can only pick one. Who would you shout out right now?
All right. I want to give a shout out to Sujin Pak. That's a cool one. I like Sujin Pak. Sujin Pak, if you don't know, was an MTV News correspondent. She's also the voice of Cribs and a pioneer in podcasting. And as a Korean American, someone who's just taught me so much about having her presence in the media. And I'm grateful to have played a tiny blip in her giant career. But I never thought I'd get to see impact and be part of impact on a cultural level that Sujin was able to share with me and take me on the journey of. And I'm eternally grateful to learn and have those types of stories with people that I know continue to make impact and are still the voice of Cribs.
There you go. All right, stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Hey, it's okay if you're driving or too busy to take notes. Charles has your parachute packed with all the info you need to jump into success. Check out the links section for all the tools you need to land safe. Now, let's keep falling with Charles and his special guest.
Yes, we're back live with my friend Vinny, and I think he's got a fantastic laugh, so I don't want him to change it. Everything is all good there. But one thing I would ask you, if you wanted to change, what would you change in our industry right now? What is the one thing that, you've seen from back then that they've changed now, and you're like, oh, why did they change it that way? It was better the other way.
Oh, I don't know if it was better the other way, but to be honest, and this is kind of a serious answer, pay transparency. I think one of the things that I know most about, because I was in the room when everyone was getting their talent contracts created, and I was part of many different types of conversations, and I saw radically different numbers. Even as the head of social media at companies 10, 15 years ago, I saw radically different numbers. Now, as we work, I even see radically different numbers from state to state. I think it's really important for brands that are, to be honest, financing this creator economy. For us to flourish as creators, I think we need more transparency, more pay transparency. And I think that should be retroactive, to be honest, too. I know a lot of the conversation is focused, especially here in New York, as of November 1st. Moving forward, if there's an opportunity, the company has to disclose the salary range, but there's no law or need to have to go back in the past to see what damage has already been done. So I'm happy to be looking forward, and I'm happy to be looking towards progress. But I think that pay transparency is something that is one of those things that we don't know how to talk about. And ultimately, if we can't finance our lifestyles and we can't sustain our message, if we can't live off of our time and energy in the way that we're meant to collaborate with each other in a fair and equal way, then let me just rephrase it. We can do all that. In this independent creator economy where you don't have to get ad approval and voting from a network that's owned by we the people on the good old American stock exchange, there's some toxicity that's built into the media cycle. And I think that we the people and this independent creator economy, specifically in podcasting too, can change how we leverage our ads from B2B, from business to business. How you and I might be able to leverage our ads is so radically different than, and there's so much more value. I think what I'm saying is that there's so much more value in our audiences than in our brands, to be really honest, because I just believe in the power of people. Because our brands exist in the figment of the imagination of our audience, of our core clients.
Right.
That's why it matters. So
then here's the thing then. You saying, I said, change it back. Now, I just became a wizard. I gave you one wish. I just brought you back to the 19-year-old Vinny.
Yeah.
What would you tell the 19-year-old Vinny?
To change?
Anything. You could tell this 19-year-old Vinny anything. What would you tell him? You're going back in time.
Risks. I would say take more risks. There was a point where I liked getting, I was so obsessed with having a yes streak, because there's a certain part of your career, there's a certain part, I think, of momentum that relies on a sequence of yeses. It's like, I'm thinking of like some popular video games where we have streaks and things like that. And those streaks are exciting. Those are things that get brands excited, that get people, bosses, other opportunities excited about your momentum. And I think I got really linear with where those successes had to be in place. And I was afraid sometimes to take risks, when in reality, I would say that your wins are up here and your losses up here. And the people who see your wins most likely are not the same people who are seeing your losses. And I wish someone would have told me that. I wish someone would have told me the people who see your wins are not the same people who see your losses. You're focusing so much on the losses, but look at the millions that are seeing your wins. And to keep looking up that way. There was a point when I got into my mid-30s where I got insecure. I thought, oh, maybe I need to be smaller to work with people who are bigger, and kind of self-doubt creeped in and all these weird mindset. I had a mindset shift because I had left television, and so much of my ego was tied to the successes I was having in television. It makes sense. And that process has been fun and humiliating. I mean, humiliating. We'll stick with that. I was going to say humbling, but it's been humiliating. It's been exciting to be wrong and to get no's. And I think that, and some of those no's have come my greatest successes, to be honest, because you just learn. People learn.
All right. Well, let's have some more fun, buddy.
Now time for pick 3.
It's now time for pick 3. Before I let you go, you're going to ask yourself these 3 questions. You get to choose what questions I ask you before I let you go. I need 3. I know there's 3 numbers between 1 and 13. Give me 3 numbers between 1 and 13.
5, 10, and 2.
5, 10, and 2. Okay. Number 5. What have you listened recently or read that's inspired you?
Oh, Chris Voss. I'm listening on audiobooks right now. I'm listening to Chris Voss's Never Split the Difference. I don't know if you know, Chris Voss is a former FBI negotiator, hostage negotiator, and he talks about the principles in collaborating, to be really honest. And it's helping me find ways to be a stronger collaborator by having more clear vision up front as to what our outcomes could be. It's a really weird lesson to get from that book, but that's what I'm taking away from it. It's gripping too. It's I love that book. It's been Chris Voss though. It's a good book. It's a good read.
There you go. I just put that on my list there. All right. Number 10. Name 2 people, past or present, that you would shadow for a day. I need 2 people that you just want to shadow, walk behind, see what they eat, how they get up, how they work, exercise, whatever. 2 people that you would just walk around and shadow for the day.
Gosh. How about Jimmy Fallon? And how about Jimmy Fallon and Lorne Michaels?
Okay. You know something? I didn't know you were going to pick Jimmy Fallon. I just didn't see that. I just didn't see that.
He seems so busy, and I know there's a lot of structure around writing, and I'm fascinated with specifically with the whole NBC model of media. And then if I got to be Lorne, then I would get to see Jimmy in action from Lorne's perspective, and if I was Jimmy, I'd get to see Lorne from Jimmy's perspective. And I think that's kind of like what I was like thinking of is like I'd love to see how these 2 people coexist, how they, like when they're walking down the hallway, is it just like a, hey Jim, like it's got to be funnier than that, right? Like it better be. Otherwise I just use these 2 wishes.
That was a good, something that was a good strategy. I like how you did that. That was a good one. I'll give you that one. Yeah. All right. Last one. Number 2. What is your biggest failure and what did you learn from it?
All right. This is a funny one. It's my unconscious bias has been one of my biggest failures, and my own sensitivities to certain words. So when I became a brand new talent coordinator at MTV, and it was my job for people to pitch me talent, and here I am, so excited to be able to take inbound information. And Tyrese was just leaving the network, so we were looking for a replacement for Tyrese to fill that spot. Ultimately, I think Lala and DJ Clue took that spot. But I was looking around and I had a label call me and they were like, look, we've got this new rapper. You're going to love him. He could be perfect for it. His name is Nelly. And I was like, ooh, I'm sensitive. I don't know. I think that, it seems like it might not be nice. And I couldn't have been further one of the nicest people in the entire industry on this world, by the way, let alone just the fact that, to be honest, it was a trigger word. Maybe someone had called me in some grade school or some moment that, stayed in the back mind. And I always remembered that because I was like, oh, that word doesn't mean the same thing to everybody. And I really became really impeccable in my speech in that moment. And I think as I were even put out casting calls and I was describing the energy I was looking for, I think I really learned back from that moment. And then Nelly always says, man, thanks for not making me a VJ because that would have ruined my career. So it worked out brilliantly for for all parties involved, by the way. But he laughed too. He look, it's cool to have access to artists back then and to be able to have that type of conversation. But Nelly was also the kind of the artist that I could say, hey, as a gay white guy, I misunderstood, and we could have a real meaningful conversation about it. And he was like, man, you would have ruined my career. Imagine if I had to be here at MTV all the time. Meanwhile, it's so brilliant. But it's just that unconscious bias, the own prejudices that we carry with us that we think that are facts to us, but are not truths to all. And I think that's been, I played with that device and this idea in reality TV my entire career in showing people what it's like to walk in someone else's shoes. I cast Housewives of Jersey and a lot of ensemble shows, to be honest, or specialty shows, mostly because I like process. I like understanding why things happen. I didn't have to support it. I just liked understanding, how it happened and getting that out there. I thought that was important for us to be able to learn from each other.
All right.
We ended up entertaining each other more so than educating. And the rest is, well, us podcasters have to get it back on track.
All right. So here's the most important question I'm going to ask you. Yeah. All right. What's up with Vinnie? What's next for you? What's going on?
It's all next. Everything's in the future. Everything that I'm working on now, I see in fruition. I'm finding new ways to work with larger groups of people, which is exciting. I've got public speaking that's coming up. I'll be on the main stage at Podfest, which is super cool for me because last year I went as an attendee, and this year I'm getting to go on the main stage, and it's a lot of growth in 1 year, and it's all from community. It's all from the one-on-one conversations that I'm having with podcasters and people who listen to these podcasts. I can't imagine a world that could do what reality TV did if we're the ones in control. Because TV advertising businesses are in control of those decisions. People execute business concepts and needs and goals, and we as humans have far greater capability of creating a substantial creator economy that revolutionizes how we work together because of the value of our audiences.
All right. So I'm telling everybody right now, check out VPE TV. Tell us about that. Talk about this.
I appreciate that. VPE.TV, the Verified Podcast Exchange.TV, Vinnie Potestivo Entertainment.tv. It is my landing hub. It is where everything that I've talked about, 100 awards worthy of winning, 60 podcast platforms that I think you should be on in the year 2023. Over 50 creator platforms that pay. How to get your podcast on IMDb, a step-by-step guide, which is completely free, by the way. I have all of these resources available at VPE.tv, and they are free, always. So please swing by and take what you can. And if you have any questions and looking for any additional insights, reach out to me on LinkedIn and say what's up.
There you go. Listen, everybody, it's been a pleasure and honor to have you on my show. I've learned a lot. I have a lot of notes, and I know a lot of people that are listening are like, oh my God, I didn't know he did this. Oh my God, this is amazing. This is new and exciting. And all he did was he took a chance and he jumped. It's now time for you to jump, everybody. And don't forget, check him out. He's got a lot of stuff going on, and I want you to jump with us. We can all jump together. All right, everybody. Like I always say, you didn't have to watch, you didn't have to listen, but I'm so glad you did. Time for you to be your greatness. We'll see you next time. Hey, hope you had a great time listening to the show. If you think I did a great job, please buy me a coffee. I still got a lot of work to do. We would love to hear from you, your feedback, so please click the link and leave us a review. You can help us grow by following us on all social media platforms and sharing this link. Once again, it's time for you to jump. Success is waiting.